Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your retirement actually depends on one single decision you make before you even stop working? Not your investment account, not your savings rate, not even your pension amount. One decision that most people spend less than an hour thinking about, despite the fact that it could affect every year of the rest of their life. That decision is when you claim Social Security, and I have to be honest with you, most people get this wrong. Not because they are careless or uninformed, but because the information out there is confusing and often designed for someone in a completely different financial situation than yours. If you have a pension coming your way, or if you are already receiving one, the Social Security timing question looks entirely different for you than it does for someone with no guaranteed income at all. And that distinction changes everything. Most people hear the general advice: claim early at 62 and get the money sooner, or wait until 70 and get the maximum monthly amount. And they pick one of those extremes based on a headline or a quick conversation with someone at work. But the real answer is almost never found at the extremes. It lives somewhere in the middle, and the right answer for you specifically depends on your pension structure, your health, your spouse's situation, your other income sources, and what kind of retirement life you are actually trying to build. So today I want to walk you through how to think about Social Security timing in a way that actually fits your real life. Because if you get this right, it can genuinely transform the financial foundation of your retirement years. Let's start by making sure we all understand what Social Security actually represents in dollar terms, because most people dramatically underestimate it. If you claim at your full retirement age and receive $2,200 a month, that is $26,400 per year. Over a 25-year retirement, that is $660,000 in total lifetime income. If you delay to age 70 and your benefit grows to $2,900 a month, that same 25-year retirement now produces $870,000 in total lifetime payments. That is a $10,000 difference from one timing decision, and that is before you factor in cost of living adjustments that compound over time. Social Security is one of the only income sources in existence that automatically increases every year based on inflation. Most investment accounts do not do that. Most pensions do not fully do that either, so the value of a higher Social Security benefit compounds in a way most people never fully appreciate. Now here is where pension holders have a distinct advantage that changes how they should think about this. If your pension already covers a significant portion of your monthly expenses, you are not in survival mode during those early retirement years. You are not desperately depending on every dollar of Social Security income to keep the lights on. That means you potentially have the financial ability to wait, to be patient, to let your Social Security benefit grow, while many people without pensions are forced to claim early simply because they have no other reliable income coming in. You may have actual options. And having options in retirement is one of the most underappreciated forms of financial freedom. Here is the first major thing most people never calculate when thinking about Social Security timing. What is your break-even point? Let's say claiming at 62 gives you $1,800 a month. Waiting until 70 gives you $3,100 a month. In the early years, the person who claims at 62 is ahead. They are collecting while the person who waited gets nothing yet. But at some point, the higher monthly benefit from waiting catches up and eventually surpasses the total collected by the early claimer. That crossover point is typically somewhere between age 78 and 83, depending on your specific numbers. So the real question becomes this: how long do you realistically expect to live? And this is where emotion and honesty have to come into the conversation. Because most people underestimate their life expectancy, especially if they are in reasonable health at retirement. The average American who reaches age 65 today has a strong statistical chance of living well into their mid to late 80s. Some will reach their 90s. And for a married couple, the odds that at least one partner lives past 90 are actually quite high, which means that waiting for a higher benefit is often the mathematically superior choice when you zoom out to the full lifetime picture. But here's what nobody tells you about that decision. It requires you to have the confidence and the cash flow to actually get through those early years without Social Security, and this is exactly where your pension becomes your secret weapon. Think about it this way. Your pension provides a dependable income floor starting the moment you retire. It does not care about your age. It does not penalize you for claiming too early or reward you for waiting. It simply arrives every single month because you earned it. That consistent income is what makes it possible to delay Social Security strategically. You are not sacrificing your lifestyle. You are not draining your savings account to survive. You are simply letting one powerful income source grow while another reliable one handles your monthly needs. That is not a sacrifice. That is strategy. And it is a strategy that most people without pensions simply cannot execute because they have no bridge income to rely on during those waiting years. You do. And that makes your situation genuinely different, more flexible, more powerful than most retirement planning advice ever acknowledges. Now let's talk about the spousal dimension of this decision because it matters enormously and most couples never fully think it through together. When one spouse has a pension and the other does not, the Social Security timing strategy for each person may need to be completely different. The lower-earning spouse might consider claiming earlier to provide some supplemental income, while the higher-earning spouse delays to maximize the survivor benefit. Because here is the critical piece. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the two Social Security benefits. The lower one stops. That means if the higher earner claimed early and received a reduced benefit for life, the surviving spouse is now locked into that reduced amount for the rest of their life, potentially for decades. That is a painful financial consequence that comes from a decision made long before that moment arrived. But if the higher earner delayed and maximized their benefit, the surviving spouse inherits a significantly larger monthly check, one that is protected from inflation every year, one that can make an enormous practical difference in whether a widowed spouse lives comfortably or struggles financially. And I want you to hear this clearly because retirement planning has to be about more than your own individual numbers. It has to account for the person who may be sitting across from you at breakfast every morning. Protection is not just a financial word. It is a deeply human responsibility. Here is another piece of this puzzle that surprises most people. Your decision about when to claim Social Security also affects how you should structure your investment withdrawals in early retirement. This is called the withdrawal sequence, and getting it wrong can cost you far more than most people realize. If you delay Social Security and your pension does not fully cover all your expenses during those bridge years, you may need to draw from your savings to fill the gap. And that means pulling money out of retirement accounts earlier than you might have planned. At first, that might sound counterproductive. Why would you spend down savings to delay Social Security? But when you run the math, honestly, you often find that the higher lifetime Social Security income more than compensates for the savings you spent bridging the gap, especially when you factor in tax efficiency, because Social Security income is taxed more favorably than traditional IRA or 401k withdrawals in many situations. Taking some taxable distributions early while your income is lower, before Social Security kicks in, can actually reduce your total lifetime tax burden significantly. This is called a Roth conversion window, and pension holders who understand it can use those early retirement years to shift money into Roth accounts at lower tax rates. Then later, when Social Security arrives and income rises, the money sitting in Roth accounts is completely tax-free. That combination of strategic Social Security timing plus smart tax planning is something most financial advisors spend years helping clients optimize. And pension holders are in a uniquely strong position to benefit from it because their guaranteed income creates structure and predictability that allows you to plan ahead with real confidence instead of just hoping things work out. Now, I want to address something that comes up in almost every conversation about Social Security timing: the fear that the program itself might not be there. You have probably heard the headlines: Social Security trust funds running low, benefits might be reduced in the future. And I understand why that creates anxiety, but I want to offer you a more grounded perspective. Social Security has been a cornerstone of American retirement for nearly 90 years. It has faced financial pressures before, and adjustments have been made. The most realistic projections from government actuaries suggest that even in a worst-case scenario, without any legislative changes, benefits might be reduced to around 75 to 80% of their current projected levels sometime in the mid-2030s. Not eliminated, reduced. And given how politically sensitive Social Security is, most analysts believe Congress will act before any meaningful cut actually occurs. Does that mean you should ignore this completely? No. It means you should not let fear of a hypothetical future reduction push you into a decision that is mathematically worse for your actual lifetime situation. Because claiming years earlier out of fear of a future reduction often locks in a permanent cut that is worse than anything the trust fund projections are actually showing. Make your decision based on your real circumstances, not on anxiety-driven headlines. Let me also talk about something most retirement content completely ignores: the psychological side of delaying Social Security when you have been saving your whole life and are finally watching a benefit you paid into for 40 years just sitting there unclaimed. It can feel deeply uncomfortable, like leaving money on the table, like you are somehow being impractical or overly optimistic about how long you will live. And I want to acknowledge that feeling because it is real and it is human, and you should not dismiss it. But here is the reframe I want to offer you. Delaying Social Security is not leaving money on the table, it is purchasing something. You are purchasing a higher guaranteed monthly income for every remaining year of your life. You are purchasing stronger inflation protection. You are purchasing a more powerful survivor benefit for your spouse. That is not reckless. That is one of the most rational financial purchases a retiree can make. The emotional discomfort of not claiming something you have earned is completely understandable, but it should not override a decision that is clearly in your long-term best interest. Now, there is one more dimension of this conversation that I think deserves its own moment: the interaction between your pension income and your Social Security taxation, because many retirees are genuinely surprised to discover how much of their Social Security benefit becomes taxable once pension income is added to the picture. Up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can be subject to federal income tax depending on your combined income. And pension checks count toward that combined income threshold. So if your pension already puts you above a certain income level, adding Social Security on top creates a higher tax bill than many people anticipate. This does not mean you should avoid claiming Social Security, but it does mean that understanding this interaction matters before you finalize your retirement income plan. The timing of when you claim, how much you draw from other accounts, and how your pension is structured all work together in a tax equation that most people never sit down and fully calculate until it is too late to change anything. And that is the single most consistent pattern I see in retirement planning conversations. Not that people make the wrong choices, but that they make choices without having the full picture in front of them. You deserve to see the full picture before you decide. So here is the summary I want to leave you with. Social Security is not just a monthly check. It is one of the most powerful financial tools available to any retiree. When used thoughtfully alongside a pension, it can create an income foundation so stable that your investment accounts become tools for living fully rather than tools for surviving financially. The timing of when you claim is one of the most consequential decisions of your entire retirement. It affects your monthly income for life. It affects your spouse's security. It affects your tax situation. It affects how you draw down your savings. And it interacts with your pension in ways that are unique to your specific situation. There is no universal right answer, but there is a right answer for you. And finding it requires understanding all the pieces together, not just one at a time, because retirement is not a collection of separate financial decisions. It is one interconnected life. And every major choice you make shapes the rest of it. Before you make any Social Security claiming decision, slow down, run your real numbers, consider your health honestly. Think about your spouse's situation carefully. Understand how your pension interacts with every piece of this. And if you have never sat down with someone who truly understands how these income sources work together, that conversation is worth having before you sign anything permanent. Because you spent decades building this, you deserve to use it wisely. If this video helped you think about your retirement differently, please subscribe to Sallie Krawcheck Retired and make sure you hit that bell icon so you never miss a video. Every week we cover the retirement topics that actually matter for real people building real financial lives. And if you know someone who is approaching retirement and wrestling with these exact decisions, share this with them. It might be the most valuable thing they watch all year.